And welcome to West Tigers Faithful, but no one cares about the title. Everybody knows it is our fourth Wincast for the season. We are 4-4. I don't know if anybody would have been confident in that, but we are here, as you can see down at the bottom left-hand side. If you are listening on YouTube, or watching on YouTube rather, I am Wincast Readman today, and with me is Mac in his wonderful 1980s Phillips era Balmain Tigers kit. How are you, mate?
I'm very good, Reedy. I believe this jersey is synonymous with trauma for most Balmain fans, but it is considered largely to be, an iconic retro jersey all the same.
Indeed it is, and it was at Balmain's spiritual home that we saw the gutsiest, most uncharacteristic West Tigers win I have seen in a very, very, very long time. Our sixth ever winning Golden Point. Our sixth ever. 20 to 18 against the Cronulla Sharks. There was a penalty blown in Golden Point for us to score it. And you believe it. I just want to start by saying this. When Benji Marshall, for whatever happens from here with Benji Marshall's coaching, he has said from the outset, from when he was hired as coach, that his team was going to be built on effort and the desire to compete on every play. And he has finally managed for that to come to fruition and manifest the way that it has. And you saw it in that last set of the match. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Mac?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Some of the defensive efforts to stop those tries at the death there, absolutely heroic. Honestly, I feel like a lot of the talk after the game, ignored some of those efforts. I think that the tackle Galvin made on Hazelton is one of the best try-saving tackles to save a game I've ever seen, and then to be followed up by, I believe it was Toa.
On Daniel Atkinson. And the thing was with that tackle was that Stafford actually overran it. He was actually moving to try and get to Ronaldo. And it's very, very rare when you see a player done on their inside shoulder and the centre steps back in and they're still able to hold on for dear life, and then Jareen comes across in cover. But then I think, obviously, there was the charge downs. Terrell was one of them, and we've heard about Terrell 1,000 times, but I cannot fathom what Jareen Buller did to make that charge down and then to fly downfield 20 metres and to get a touch on that ball that was backwards for William Kennedy to then knock that ball on and for that challenge to be successful.
Yeah.
Incredible. Simply incredible.
Yeah, it was a very, very lucky game, but it was also one of those games where it was the Tigers making their own luck, right? Like it wasn't like we didn't deserve to win. The guys threw absolutely everything at that game, but 86 minutes or whatever it was. And the Sharks had every chance to win. And I mean, if you're the Sharks fans, you probably feel like you blew it. But at the same time,
make no mistake.
But at the same time, they were only really in the game. I mean, you sliding doors and all, but like they did score that try directly off the back of the worst sin bin call I've ever seen in my life.
And some errors from Alex Twal and Alex Seafarth, both directly contributed to points. But I agree with you. At the conclusion of the match, obviously it rolls into Matty Johns, and Nathan Hindmarsh actually said that he thought that Cronulla were the better team, and he fucking hates us. But Brian Fletcher actually said, no, I think you're wrong. That first half, we were completely in control. That try that Ronaldo scored was incredible, but it was completely against the run of play. And up until those last two tries that Nico created off the back of our errors, they didn't get a look in. And we defended our line really, really well, and we held out. And we didn't take all of our opportunities, but we took enough. And look, there would have been some reviews done through the week of how on earth did we let it get away to each. But nonetheless, it was nice to see us repel them constantly once it got to that point.
It was insane. Like it was beyond nice to see. It was like even if it wasn't the West Tigers, like that
Yeah,
was you know what I
that
mean.
was an understatement. You're absolutely right.
I mean, no, you don't get me wrong, but like that we were under as much pressure as you could be under, and yeah, like multiple plays, at least four off the top of my head that game winning plays. And you're right, that Buller charge down and then chasing it down. But then, yeah, like on the flip side, there were moments there where we could have put the game away. The audacious short kickoff that Talonelli reeled in at the end of the game.
I
There,
loved that. I
yeah, I
loved
mean,
that. That was so. Look, it was just he needed to be better there, but I loved that the gumption and the cojones to do that.
yeah. Well, they were obviously feeling desperate, and instead of feeling desperate and then just kicking it down there and letting the anxiety get on top of them. And the Sharks had the wind at their back. They would have ended up putting in an attacking kick in anyway, right? So, like, at the end of the day, it's probably a high percentage play. But if Talon reels that in, how far does he run? I think the commentator mentioned that. Like, and then there was if that ball bounced into Terrell May's lap when he made that charge down, how far would he have run? Because all the Sharks were running the other direction. Like there's some sliding doors moments in that game, but ultimately we won that game with desperation defense, which is extremely, extremely rare for us. The Leichhardt crowd probably got us home. I would say.
I agree. I'm not sure we win that game anywhere else, including my much loved Arana Park. But Benji Marshall mentioned, and we'll talk about individual players in a little bit, but Benji Marshall mentioned that this is a win that can really set up your season. You go 4-4 in a Magic round, and that was season defining. That was like, all right, that's not necessarily the attacking blueprint, but that's where we're at. That's the level of effort that is required, and this is what we can do. Do you agree that it's season defining? Do you think we'll look back and say that was the turning point?
If we continue to do well, it will be. But if we fall in a heap at some point during the season, this win will be forgotten, just like last year's win against the Sharks. It's a good win to build off of for sure. It's sort of, I would say it's like, I would describe it more as a win that stopped the dam from breaking. You know what I mean? Like that's what it feels more like to me. It keeps us in. It keeps the dream alive for another week. Man, this team's hard to tip because I feel like we're about to enter round 9. We're 4-4, and aside from the Dolphins game, I don't think we've played a good match.
I don't think it's out of the question. I think the Parramatta game, the first Parramatta game, the first 25,
abysmal,
and then we put it together. But again, the first 25 wasn't good enough. I agree with you. The Dolly's game probably, yeah, but even then it was the first 10-15. We weren't up to it. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with you. The first 40, we had the win at our back, and Imagine in the comments said earlier that we probably didn't take enough advantage, but nonetheless. We're sitting here 4-4 with 2 points. We still haven't made we still have not made. We haven't been absolute dog shit. We still haven't played a truly consistent 80-minute performance. Now,
yeah,
Mac,
and we haven't clicked an attack yet, right?
No.
I think one of the things that's glaringly obvious is that the attacking cohesion is still not there. We're probably relying almost entirely on having what is one of the best attacking edges in the NRL right now on that right. And if not for that, we would be struggling. I think that Stafford Toa has taken a leap I did not see coming. I think Stafford Toa is. I think that people should be starting to talk about him as being one of the form players in the NRL. Honestly, he's week in, week out in our top 3, and his efforts be largely overlooked. But in this game, I would say probably 2 of, if not the 2 most important moments of the game were both things that he did. That tackle on Atkinson and that flick pass try to Sunia Taruva. That's stuff that you would only expect from top quality centers. And it's not like they're, you know, blips. You know, it's not like those two plays were just like these extreme outliers in what was otherwise an average performance. It's actually 80 minutes of quality and a couple of like massive X factor moments in the game on top of that. And that's what makes a player great. Like I think Stafford Toa's, you know, so far this year, if Terrell May didn't exist, I would be considering potentially Stafford Toa as being our player of the year so far, in my opinion.
Well, I will pose one question to you. Matt Timokor and Peter Hiku were New Zealand's last centres when they trotted out and beat the Cornwalls by 50. He's better than both of them on form right now. I mean, I haven't watched much Super League, but a 33-year-old Peter Hiku and a Matthew Timokor who hasn't hit the same heights as he did in 2023.
Yeah,
I think Stafford should be there. I'll go as far to say it.
I mean, I haven't looked around the NRL at what other centres there are. I know that there's some, you know, absolutely incredible young talent around the NRL, and I don't watch every game. You know, I used to, but I don't. So I don't know for sure what else is available, but you're 100% right. Like, I'd be picking him ahead of those two for sure.
Definitely. Why don't you wax lyrical about Terrell May while I fix this microphone of mine?
What do you want me? Want me to apologise? Like,
no. I just want you to talk. You don't have to apologise. You just have to.
I mean, I will. Look, I mean,
actually, I'll ask you the question that I asked everybody on it. Is he our greatest ever front rower already? See you in a sec.
I don't think so. I don't think he's our greatest ever front rower yet. I think he's had probably the best ever 8 games in a row. I think that Terrell May's performances to start this season have been incredible, but I think, you know, West Tigers fans like to downplay, you know, how good of a front rower Aaron Woods was when he was in his prime at the West Tigers. He was the best front rower in the world. Played for Australia. His work was, you know, it was as good as what Terrell May is producing now for a good solid 2 or 3 years straight. So I don't think that you could make the argument that Terrell May right now has proven to be a better front rower than prime Aaron Woods. I know that a lot of the people on X mentioned Keith Galloway, which, you know, made me realise just how much people underrate Aaron Woods in his prime. I know people hate Woodsy. But like to say Terrell May for 8 games in a row is better than a guy who played, you know, double-digit tests for Australia, double-digit tests for Origins for New South Wales, and was like, you know, honestly, like he was as good as Terrell May has been for these first 8 games for about 3 seasons in a row. Like,
yeah, I agree with you. The thing is, mate, is that
it gets the engagement.
I was farming engagement like I was, you know, one of these fellas in Bangladesh that promotes phones and, you know, doctors them in. Look,
he has the potential to. I mean, there's been games in this stretch that I think are better single performances than any performances Aaron Woods made in his career. I think this game just this weekend is a better performance than I think. It might be the best single performance a West Tigers prop has ever had. That I could argue.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the individual efforts have been phenomenal. But yeah, I think people are quick to forget what Aaron Woods was. But if Isaac Moses is focused on player development, look no further than Aaron Woods' career trajectory once he left the West Tigers. So watch out for that, Lachlan. But that's an appropriate segue. I really want to give Lachlan Galvin his flowers. I probably wouldn't have put him back in first grade, but at the same time, I'm not the coach and I'm not around the playing group. He had a smile on his face. He played the way that he did, you know, through the first sort of 6 weeks of the season before his contract negotiations, you know, came to the fore. And look, I don't know if Latu makes a tackle, then he makes, you know, I don't know if he gets back there. I don't know if, you know, the pass to Samuela where he sort of, you know, got the arms free and flicked it around the corner. I don't know if that happens. And, you know, I'm glad that the team was able to put all of that aside and really come together and put together a famous win that Lachlan was a part of. And whatever happens next week or next year or in the next 18 months, I don't really mind. He is one of our best players, quite frankly. And, he needs to be in our 17 every week. And I'm more than happy to take my licks on that.
I don't think that this conversation's going to stop anytime soon. I don't think that Lachlan Galvin's going. I don't think that unless Lachlan Galvin runs out round one for us next year, I think it's going to be a week-to-week proposition about how the media talk about Lachlan Galvin at the West Tigers. I think that there's a lot of assumptions that he's just going to find a way out of the club. But if you think back to when Mitch Moses was agitating for a release, Mitch Moses wouldn't have made the tackle Lachlan Galvin made. Like there's obviously he proved on the weekend that when he says that he wants to be here for now at least and he's playing for the team and that he wants to be in the team and that he's committed to the team right now, he proved that. Like there can be no questioning his motivation, and that was for me the concern. When we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, I said I wouldn't watch a game if Lachlan Galvin was picked. I said that. And it was because I didn't want to see a Mitch Moses repeat. Lachlan Galvin got dropped after I said that. And then we, obviously lost. And then Lachlan was recalled and proved that he's not Mitch Moses. And as long as he's willing to put in, we've still got him for 2 whole seasons yet. We're 8-8. He is in our best 17. The point you raise about Fainu, I don't think Latu Fainu is anything remotely close to the type of player Lachlan Galvin is. So
that's my point. It's not necessarily a knock on Latu because I think Latu's a better player. He's a better tackler.
Player.
Sorry, a very different player. I don't think he's a better player. I think he's a better defensive player. But yeah, we need to get them both on the side and we need to determine how we do that. But I have a solution. Now, obviously, Latu hasn't been picked there. I think given how Galvin went last week, I think they decided to play the long game with Latu. But eventually there will come a time when he will need to be picked. And as Benji said after the Wars game, Latu is too good to continue to play reserve grade. So here is my thinking. Pre-season last year, so heading into 2024, when Lockie first came into the top 30, I don't know if many people know this, but he was actually training as a utility. So he's doing time at centre, back row, halves, and lock. And effectively, he was going to play off the bench in the 14 role. If you'll remember correctly, he actually came off the bench in that second Dragons trial where we got walloped, and was actually had said a few times that he was sort of training to fill a couple of different roles off the bench, and they were just going to try and get him minutes in first grade because, quite frankly, why wouldn't you? Look at the season he had. So I would actually go back to that. I think he actually has more utility value, but you can utilise him in such a way where when a Lachlan Galvin like skill set is required, whether it be through the middle, on a left or right edge, at left or right centre, or in the halves, hypothetically, I think it would be a wonderful thing to do. I think you can run him in, say, jersey 17. I think that a guy like Jack Bird, he had a good performance last week, but he would be the guy that would probably fall off the bench for me. I think that makes a lot of sense, and you try and get Lachlan minutes that way, and then you allow the Latu Luai combination to blossom. Is that out of the question? Is that a good suggestion?
Yeah, it's a good suggestion. I think that given that Galvin's told us that he's leaving, we have no choice but to really double down on developing Latu Fainu. So whatever we have to do to get him minutes, and not just minutes, but minutes in a role that he's likely that in a role where he's going to be developing into the player that we need him to be come 2027, is very, very important. It's tough. It's a really tough situation because you don't want to do that to the detriment of the side now. Look, I think that if there's one thing that I think we still struggle with as a side. It's in patches we look really defensively fragile. It's just our scramble and our want to defend that's actually covering up that fragility. Like teams are still motoring down the field on us at certain times, especially early in the game and straight after halftime. Um, so if you're gonna look at potentially bringing Finu into the side, like, can you really afford to do so at the cost of a strong defensive player? I'm not sure. I'm thinking potentially the solution here lies in Coruscant playing 80 maybe. I know,
Oh,
I know.
we could talk about that.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I don't know whether I buy into the idea that Appy can't play 80. Like, I don't know where it sort of came from. Like, I think that obviously they're doing it, but it feels to me like that they're doing it more so to ensure Talon gets development than necessarily anything specifically wrong with Appy. I
I
know that
think.
Talon needs development too, though, Reedy. I get that.
Mm,
But so does Finu. And so if we really are running Talon on the bench for 30 minutes, 25 minutes a game, more so to give him development than necessarily to give Appy cover, then the question is who's more important to develop in the first grade side, playing in a role where they're going to get their hands on the ball in a way that's going to mean that down the line they're going to be, playing the role that they're going to end up playing. I'd probably just, probably chop and change them week to week, to be frank. I think that Talon is probably somebody who we need to get more minutes into because of the position that he's going to ultimately be asked to play. I think that it's important that Talon can actually play out a hard 80 minutes, like eventually, and probably pretty soon. Because what if Appy goes down, right? Like you can't rely on Talon to play the same amount of minutes right now that Appy's even playing. So Talon goes down, Tristan Hope's going to come into the side, and they're probably going to go back to that 40-40 split like we saw last time they played. And I don't love that. So I almost feel like that there's, a way to bring Latu into the side that also benefits Talon's development a little bit by, maybe giving him a bit more time in New South Wales Cup to play, 80 down there. And look, at the same time, like I think, it's not no knock on Talon. I actually think that Tristan Hope's been the best player in the New South Wales Cup side. So, even if you take this Latu Finu thing out of the equation, I feel like that there's probably, something to be said about potentially just giving Talon some time in New South Wales Cup just so he can get some minutes under his belt and bring Tristan into the first grade side to play Talon's minutes. So there's plenty there's a bit they can do there, but it does feel a little bit like trying to walk through a very narrow path. Like there's not too many options available to them.
Again, I look at it and I see just Lachlan as a straight swap for Jack Bird, who's jumped between centre, back row, lock all year. That would be my call. But at the same time, do you lose that defensive stronghold that we have managed? That is a question. Now, you mentioned that Talon, are we simply putting him on the field for development? I don't think it's at that point at all. I actually look at Uppy and I look at what he produced late first half, and he did it last week against Parramatta as well. And when he gets tired, he's now at a point where his defence gets sloppy. Uppy missed 8 tackles on the weekend. From it was 43 made, 8 missed, 3 ineffective. That's 79.63% efficiency. Now, I think
That's a lot of tackles.
it's a lot of tackles, but it's also a fair few missed. So for me, I think that with Uppy playing 80, I think that his percentage would diminish further. I'm at a point where I think that De Silva actually straightens our attack in a lot of ways, and we actually can play in a different way. And for us, that's wonderful because our attack really flows through the middle. So while you've got Appy, who almost plays like a quarterback and can sort of, absorb sort of play on the line, or you saw like the false hole that he created for Terrell to run through, which was a set play on the in the first half. You know, he has that sort of sleight of hand, his deception, whereas Talon's just fucking north-south. You know what I mean? So I like that, and I think we really, really need it. And with the way this Benji Marshall West Tigers side plays, you need variation in the middle to create the sort of overlaps on the outside that they're trying to create via manipulating the centre of the ruck. So it's a really interesting one.
Look, Reedy, I kind of disagree, and there's a reason why I disagree, and that's that I understand the point you're making that Talon changes the attacker, and I can see how you would like paint that as a positive, but given how poor our cohesion is right now, and given how our spine have not seemed to actually really figure out how to play together, like actually forcing them to develop two strategies simultaneously, one where you've got Appy playing 50 and Talon playing 30, is going to slow down the amount of time that it takes us to actually get that cohesion. You're better off just not breaking that up and just letting the same game plan roll for 80. I'm just trying to look like, I mean, I understand Appy made however many missed tackles that he made. In the time that he was on the field, he made 8 missed tackles and made 43 tackles. Guess how many tackles in total Talon De Silva made?
I'm looking at it as we speak.
Yeah, 4.
4.
So for some reason, like, you know, obviously when Talon was on the field, we weren't defending. So, you know, I was sort of looking there to see, you know, if potentially the tackle efficiency stats were the same for Talon in shorter minutes, to see if there was actually a drop-off in defense. But I can't really see that. But look, at the end of the day, like if Talon plays 30 minutes and makes 30% as many tackles as Appy, and, you know, he doesn't really improve the defense, then who cares if Appy actually misses tackles? Like, think about the actual like maths of it. Like, if Talon's on the field and he makes 30%, like let's say he makes 11 tackles in his 30 minutes and he makes 2 missed tackles, it's the same tackle efficiency as what Appy makes on the field anyway. And I feel like that's probably accurate. I think that's how I don't see Talon as a better defender than Tired Appy personally. I don't think he is. So yeah, that's where I'm at on it. I guess I wouldn't change it. Like, all that to say, I wouldn't change it. But it's if I had to justify a way for Latu to get into the side, that's probably where I'm looking at, because I think that there's more cumulative gains attached to doing it that way.
Fair enough. Look, they haven't changed the winning side, and this is a conversation I have when Latu does come back fit. But nonetheless, they are 1-17 this week. But yeah, it is food for thought, and it's the first time that we've probably had that. So that is nice. I saw that Bryce wanted to give Brent Naden a rap. He said as much in the comments. I agree with you. I said the other day to somebody that last week Brent Naden looked like Prince Philip on death's door, and then this week he looked like Prime Prince Harry playing strip snooker. I am astounded with the way that he was bouncing out of collisions and tackles. Quite frankly, it was excellent. But also his defensive efforts. And look, I think Jerome Luai's communication down that left edge is really what helped him. But nonetheless, made some tackles at some good times, fielded the ball, and was pretty strong coming out of yardage. So I was very, very impressed with him. And he's a guy that's always endeared himself to me, I think, Brent Naden. You know, he's a lovable fella and a very natural footballer. So to see him apply himself and be all in again and be really, really keen to be a part of, you know, what is, you know, quickly becoming a revolution is really exciting. And a credit to Brent.
I want to talk about a couple of players. I agree. I think Brent Naden, that was probably if he can play like that every week, we're in good stead, because we were really struggling without Skelton. I think that he put in a Skelton-like effort, which
agreed.
We kind of need on that left wing. Taruva's more of the strike edge. We need that left edge to, you know, play a role of rolling the sleeves up. 19 carries for 170 meters is absolutely nothing to scoff at, of which 52 of those were post-contact meters. But now that you're back, I think that there's a couple of players that I want to talk about. One is Samuel Fainu, another is Royce Hunt, and the last one is Terrell May. On the topic of Samuel Fainu, his best game of the season?
Absolutely. Well said.
So, how did you see his performance? What do you think was the reason that what made him so much more effective in this game than in the previous games this season?
Jerome Luai.
Talk more about it.
Okay, I think that with more time, these two are finally beginning to work each other out. I think that Jerome is a little bit different to what Samuela had last year. He had Lockie down his edge. I think they were beginning to figure each other out. I think they are really beginning to figure each other out now and get their timings right. And if it were not for some very, very desperate and good reads from the Cronulla Sharks, I think Samuela scores a few more tries than just his one on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that like unlocking Samuela probably also unlocks Luai and takes the pressure off him a little bit, because I think at the moment the knock on Luai is production. It seems like if you read between the lines a little bit, you can see that Luai's making an impact on the side culturally, and that's probably enough for much much worn out Tigers fans. But to actually see him start getting some try assists, start getting some line break assists, it probably revolves a lot around A, unlocking Samuela Fainu, and probably B, figuring out how to actually turn that left edge into a strike edge, because I feel like Dewey at the moment, bless his heart for kicking the goal, but like on the left edge we have Dewey, on the right edge we have Toa. Toa's creating tries. He's a playmaker. He's actually making Galvin look good, and Buller's making Galvin look good, and Buller is making Toa look good. Dewey's kind of out there kind of making everybody look a little bit slow, I think. Like when he gets the ball, he doesn't really do much with it.
He's turned into quite a meat and potatoes centre, hasn't he? For a guy that was renowned for his running game, and probably about 4 years ago could split opposition defences open and quite often scored a lot of tries. He's not sort of doing that, and I'm not too sure whether or not that's got anything to do with simply cohesion or quite possibly his injury history, but. People have been worried about Jerome, and look, you see one try assist all year, and quite frankly, it's not good enough, yes. But at the same time, he's left a system where I don't think I've ever seen a team pick apart an opposition defence like Penrith do. It's very methodical. It's almost like a game of chess, the way that, even the way they turn these players under, which I don't think it's working now, but, sort of... The two out with Alamotti to come back in, and then they sort of set up in a certain way, or they pull the fullback away from the line or get him to plug in at A or whatever it may be. I think he's still getting used to it. The Tigers genuinely attack so much differently than every other side in the comp. So by extension, I think Jerome, wasn't used to it, and I think that, the roles that the back rows play at Penrith compared to the Tigers are a little bit different. I saw enough on Sunday with him taking the line on. We played straight when he took the line on, and his little combination with Samuela, that I think that we might see it really come together these next couple of weeks, and I'm very, very excited to see it happen. And furthermore, with Jerome playing 7, he played 6 against Parramatta. I don't write that off, but I've got a big enough sample size now to see the pass before the pass, where he plays straight and deep in the line. He engages the defenders. He engages the defenders that he requires, and he is able to play that pass for Lachlan Galvin to then play for Samuela Fainu, who scores, and that is arguably even more important. And that's where you can really, really see his effectiveness in attack. And again, I want to see him off a flat ball, get off a flat fall, catch the footy, move outside foot up, move, attract A and B, and then throw the pass that hits, for Dewey or Samuel to hit the hole. But I promise you, he's going to get there. I'm confident. I can see it.
Well, I want to see him kick the field goal to win the game and not throw it to Adam Dewey. and that's my problem with him is that at the moment I don't believe he's playing like a halfback. I think he's not playing like 5'8" either. He's playing like Benji Marshall plays at training. He's running around on the field and he's like orchestrating things and doing very little himself. And I don't think that we're getting value out of him when he's doing that. Frankly, in terms of the on-field outcome. I mentioned last week, is Jerome Luai ever going to be the sort of player who steps up and pots a game-winning field goal? Well, he had a bloody good chance to this week, and he didn't do it.
I don't disagree. He should have taken it. But also, actually, yeah, you keep going because I spoke for the last 5 minutes.
I wanted to just move on because the next person I wanted to talk to, but if you want to just finish up on the Luai point, go for it.
Look, his biggest value has simply been leadership and defence and his chat. And the attack.
And so far, that's useful, but it needs to improve.
I don't agree. I don't disagree. His attacking output needs to improve, but I'm confident that it will. You were saying?
Royce Hunt. Off the bench, 13 carries for 127 metres, of which 66 were post-contact metres. That is a lot of post-contact metres in 127 metres. How did you rate his performance?
We missed him. That goes without saying. I think that obviously Cronulla knew what they were going to get because, he plays the exact same role that he did over there. But I think that, we really, really missed him. And who really missed him, mate? Jack Bird. What I found was that without Royce there against Parramatta, Jack didn't have somebody that he could play footy off. So quite often, Royce will probably skittle 2 or 3 defenders. Jack then gets the ball and he will have shape playing off him and he'll quite often go himself, but then he's able to sort of dictate play a little bit and there's a bit of shape off him. So I think that he really benefited, and I don't think it was a coincidence that with Royce's return, Jack played quite well as well. Look, Royce, he missed a few tackles, but at the same time, I think that's kind of what you're going to get sometimes, just in terms of lateral movement and whatnot. But again, he is a big body in the middle. It's somebody that people don't want to run at or be run at from. And it's clear that once again we've had our issues with Marshall's bench rotation, but when this side is full strength, that bench does a wonderful job for us.
Yeah, I think that we need Royce Hunt in this side because he's actually the forward we have that takes the opposition on the most. And I can see when he's on the field that the opposition become a little bit destabilised in the middle. When Royce Hunt's not on the field, I don't feel like that the opposition are physically intimidated at all. Like there's no, like they go through the motions, they run hard, they absorb the collision, they enjoy the collision. And as I mentioned before, it's only really our scramble defense that's been elite this year, frankly. Very 2005-esque, might I dare say. But when Royce Hunt's on the field, the opposition, you can see that they focus on him. He makes an impact. They have to account for him. They have to get numbers in the tackle when he's on the field. I would love to clone him. I think we're one Royce Hunt style middle forward away from having a proper middle rotation, to be honest. I feel like the obvious man of the match, Terrell May, we do need to talk about that performance because it was incredible. I think he played the entire game. He played 84 of the 89 minutes. Did he get taken off in extra time, did he?
No, he had 5 off somewhere around the 68th. And,
84 minutes as a middle forward. He racked up 104 fantasy points from 29 carries for 228 meters, 73 post-contact meters. He does have a very quick play the ball speed though. So for 29 carries to have an average play the ball speed of 2.79 seconds is actually insane.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. To have a play the ball
speed of that quick. To put it into perspective, Fonua had 15 carries and his play the ball speed was 3.28 seconds. Royce Hunt's was 3.39. Terrell May has a very fast play the ball, and to average that on 29 carries, that's a very, very important hidden impact in the game, because that opens up everything. For a side that doesn't physically dominate its opposition, you have to be able to dominate them aerobically. You have to be able to actually get the jump on them out of the ruck and get them running backwards in defence, and Terrell May's doing that. So despite the low post-contact meters, he's making up for it in ruck speed, and he's giving the next player extra meters, right? So it's kind of like I see a lot of people, and myself included, lamenting, his impact at the point of collision. But I think that, yeah, it's important to point out that he has that other string to his bow there, and 8 offloads. Like, I mean, come on.
Well, the thing is as well with those offloads is that he is doing what only the elite front rowers can do, and that is the late offload, where you can absorb contact, you can hold the ball in the tackle, and then with the split second just before the referee calls out, you can get the arm free and you throw the ball away, which allows for, considerable, meterage downfield because the defensive line's effectively set. Now, only Tino, Haas, Tapane, these sorts of guys can do it, and we're seeing it from Terrell May. But not only are we just seeing that, how often are you seeing him get the footy, turn a player inside, square up, and then play out the back of a block show?
Yeah, he's a talented ball player, very talented ball player.
I agree. You watch his vlogs, man. With his OzTag games, you'd see it. But what about in the first half when they went down that left edge and it was sort of a block shape, and Appy held the pass up and he was going to fly in through there? Like, they're playing set plays off him like he's a fucking fullback.
Yeah, which is nuts to me. I think that. Somebody just called me out. CB just called me out in the chat because I don't rate Terrell May as an Origin player. What I said was he's not an Origin prop. But if they play him in Origin and they play to his strengths, and I even said this, if they play him in Origin and play to his strengths and let him be Terrell May, and like you just said, the Tigers are playing around him like he's a fullback. That obviously you get value out of him if he plays the same game, but. Rep football, Origin football is different. They usually need players who can come in and do a job. Origin style football, it doesn't change year to year very much, and it's all about the collision. It'll be up to Laurie Daly. We know what Laurie Daly's like. He's a fucking moron. So I very much doubt that Laurie Daly is going to come in with some creative game plan. He will get picked. He will get picked for Origin because he'll get picked because of all the media talk about him, because of all of the player talk about him, and because of his raw numbers. But unless Laurie Daly and the New South Wales Brains Trust come up with a game plan that plays to his strengths and doesn't just expect him to come off the bench as an impact prop, I could see him having an underwhelming performance. Last but not least, in terms of players, I didn't mention. I think Sione Fainu. I think Sione Fainu is a hell of a player. I think Sione Fainu.
He's strong.
He is really, really hard to bring down. And he looks fit. He's skilled too. He's got a really quick ruck speed. He's faster than Terrell May. Yeah, I think Sione Fainu is developing really, really well. There's been talk I've seen around the last week about where's all of our players developing. Like we failed to develop anybody. I think what people forget is Sione Fainu was here before Latu and Samuela. So you got to consider Sione Fainu as a Tigers Pathways success story, because I think when he came here he was a flag player, was he not?
He was. So he was signed, I believe, 22 under Madge, and I think Sheens and McDonald. And he was signed immediately on a part-time deal, but was meant to go into the 30 in 2023. And for a guy that was expected to be on a full-time contract a year later, putting it lightly, Sione was out of shape.
He was awful.
But I think he was coming off the bench in fleet. There was a few people that actually mentioned close to the club that they were confident because he fathered 2 kids quite young. They were fairly confident that once Sammy and Latu turned up to the club, that it was going to be enough to sort of give him the stability that he needed to just fucking rip in through preseason.
I heard the same thing. It's a very strange thing to hear, but I heard the same thing that I think he was really struggling with fatherhood. I think that the family unit there, I think he was probably getting sleepless nights and things like that, and it had an impact on him.
Yeah, and mate, they were right. He dropped the weight to the point where you could see the physical transformation in him in a preseason where those boys weren't fit enough. He had a red hot crack, did some good things in that trial match. And then when he came into first grade, he didn't look overawed. He didn't look like, he struggled with the physicality or the speed. He was fine. And he became a staple of the side. And, going into this year, I think the question was sort of around, because we still had Clem at the time. And, I think everybody sort of anticipated we might have ran with a back rower on the bench. And I heard midway through preseason that before Clem was actually placed on the outer, that they said, we're prioritising Sione. And you couldn't blame him after the season he had. And, Clem obviously had the claws and whatnot. But players in their second year sometimes, and you know what? His brother's actually had some issues. This is Semi's second full year in grade, and I think that, I think it took him a little bit of time to come to grips, and we're seeing him really flourish now, but there's been no downturn with Sione at all. And for him to take 2 hit-ups in that final set and want it that desperately, and to bring about the penalty. Oh my God! But again, he is as strong as an ox. There's been games where he sat down that myth Gajewski from Brisbane on his way to the try line, on the way to the try line the other week, and then what else did he do? The Newcastle game where he's just swatting defenders out of the way like flies.
He loves the try line. He loves the try line. White line fever. Shout out to Aden Fanua-Blake too. That was one hell of a showdown. Terrell May versus Aden. He dominated.
Adam was excellent. Talakai was excellent. I thought Nico had a good game. Look, he didn't kick the field goal, but he was a coat of paint away from beating us. Tom
Hazelton had 14 carries, 142 meters, 3 tackle breaks, and almost scored a match-winning try, if not for Lachlan Galvin. And he made 42 tackles on top of it as well. So I want to shout out him as well. But Aden Fanua-Blake's stats, just to put into perspective, he had as many meters as Terrell May on 6 fewer carries, and he had 20 minutes less. He had 6 tackle breaks, 2 offloads. He made 32 tackles, and tell me how many tackles he missed, Reedy.
None. I'm looking at it. It was one
0.
One ineffective. They turned up to play. Will Kennedy was phenomenal.
Kennedy's phenomenal player.
Ronaldo was fucking awesome.
We were so close to getting Will Kennedy, and it's going to be one of those interesting sliding doors moments because he's turned into some player. It was definitely highly advanced talks.
Wow. Well, nonetheless. We have a very, very special fullback who I'm on the record now saying he is my favourite player. He is wonderful. Let's pull up some. Yeah, I think so.
I wonder who's my favourite. Who's my favourite West Tigers player right now? Let me think. My favourite West Tigers player right now is
Taruva.
Nah, it's Buller.
Oh, there you go. West Tigers'
I was just trying
favorite.
to think, is there anybody other than Buller that it is? And I was like, nah, it's Buller.
Let's pull up some of these questions in the comments. Have we got anything there we're talking about?
Hey, in the comments, tell us who your favourite West Tigers player is right now, by the way. I'm curious to know what everybody else thinks. All right.
And give us a reason why.
Yeah, and also share the podcast, share the live podcast link with your friends. What are you doing? Do you guys have any mates? Jesus Christ. All right, let's have a look at some of these questions. We've got, should we re-sign Appy if it means losing to Silva? Or do you think Appy would take up a bench role?
Oh, good one. I don't think they'll disrespect Uppy. I think he's been a very, very important part of rebuilding this club and sort of setting culture and standards and the like. They will give him first refusal, but I think that they will try and get him to take a pay cut, and he will be put on a minutes reduction as time goes on. I think Talon Silva will be an NRL-ready hooker, a starting NRL-ready hooker by 2027, or at least have the majority of the minutes. But they will not disrespect Uppy, and I think given the sort of how highly they regard him, they will prioritise him first with Talon to come second. What do you think?
I think that it comes down to what happens this season. So I feel like if the Tigers sort of peter away and struggle and, finish well outside of the 8, I feel like Appy might make the mind up for them, to be honest. I kind of have a feeling that, Appy will stay at the Tigers as long as he thinks that next year might be the year. Does that make sense? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like while ever he feels like that they've got more in them, he'll want to be part of the story. But if he feels like, maybe it's just time to move on and we do the reset, and he'll get out of Talon's way. I have a lot of time for Appy. I think he's been a great leader for the club. I think he has his heart in the right place for the club. He's not on Bitcoin anyway. I'd be happy to re-sign him on the money that he's currently on, even with a minutes reduction, because he's not on massive money. So yeah, I think it's going to largely come down. The question was, should we re-sign him if it means losing De Silva? Yes, I think so. Like, if Talon De Silva comes up and says, if you re-sign Appy Coruscant, I'm leaving, then I would say goodbye.
I think that Talon has a lot of respect for Uppy. I think that he said as much in the press. They're just going to have to try and navigate the situation as best as they can. And as I mentioned, I think that in 2 years' time, I don't know what Uppy's motor is going to be like and what his durability is going to be like. I think that, similar to what Penrith used to do with Mitch Kenny and roll him out for the first 20 to 25, take the sting out of the game for Uppy might actually do that for Talon. But it's one to keep an eye on. And Greg Florimo said last night on 360 that he would like Perth to chase Uppy, given that he came through and played for North Sydney as a child. So one to consider nonetheless. But look, I don't think they will disrespect Uppy. Randomizer asks, is AJ Kepper or really back with the club? I haven't checked with my sources. I was told that he has moved back to the city. He's actually left Penrith, and a few people have said that he has come to the club. And furthermore, he is not playing for Penrith in any grade, not named on any extended benches. He is off contract, as far as I am aware. So there is merit to this. There is a possibility. But I know that people will feel hesitant. But for me, AJ is the best winger in New South Wales Cup right now, very, very similar to Jarrell Skelton. And I think Blaine said in the comments earlier, means we're not rushing Luke. And it allows us to build our depth. I would not be opposed to it. I think Penrith did the right thing and developed him as a winger as we should have. But I know that will be quite polarising. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that I'm not really qualified to comment on AJ Kepper or development. I haven't seen him play, but like NBWT on X said that he's leading the meterage in New South Wales Cup by over 400 meters. He's top try scorer. It's a
ridiculous amount.
Top try scorer, most tackle breaks, most post-contact meters. So yeah, I think I can't. How can you fault it? Like, it's he's a player who's played 50 first grade games. And I saw somebody else comment. Sorry, I forget who it was. I should be making notes of who I'm going to quote. If you've got AJ Kepper in position 28, 29, or 30 on your top 30, then you're doing all right. And that's most likely what the case is. I don't know whether he's back with the club. He was not named. Charlie Staines has been named to return this weekend for the New South Wales Cup side. I know we had some conversations about a possible Staines Kepper swap. We were just speculating, but that seemed possible, and then suddenly Staines is picked again. So I don't know. He's not been named this weekend. We'll know more by this time next week.
I agree. Anything else, sir?
Let's have a look here. We've got CB enjoying a Musselman. We've got
It's fucking cold in the mountains tonight.
We've got this. Can Sione take Seifarth's role on the right?
No.
Oh yeah, why not? Why is Alex Seifarth so much better than Sione Finau as a right back row?
It's not that. Sione's not a back row. I think it proved as much.
Neither is Alex Seifarth, just quietly.
Yeah, okay, but I think that Alex right now is a better back. I think he'll always be a better back row than Sione. I think that you minimise Sione's impact in the middle. I don't think he can defend on an edge, and I think it takes away from what he does best, and that is crushing skulls in the middle on both sides of the ball.
Fair enough. I think personally, He could. I feel like Sione would be a better right back role than Alex Seyfarth, personally. I do agree Sione Finu is better suited in the middle. I think right now, Alex Seyfarth has not played himself out of that jersey. I think Sione Finu is doing a fine job in the middle. So I wouldn't make any changes right now. But it would be definitely a change I could see being justified some point in the future. Have I got my Magic Round ticket secured? Yes, I have. I've had my Magic Round ticket secured since before the first round. Since before the season started. I will be there on Saturday night, and I will be reading the election coverage on my phone.
Very nice. Is this a perfect time to segue into this preview?
Let's go.
West Tigers play the Dragons on a Saturday night at Magic Round, 7:45 p.m. It will be right in the middle of the election coverage, as you have said. West Tigers have named an unchanged side. They are 1-17. In case you didn't know, that's Jareen Buller at the back, Sania Taruva and Brent Naden the wingers, Adam Dwahi and Stafford Baby G.I. Toa, as Blaine called him in the comments earlier. Lachlan Galvin and Jerome Luai at the scrum base. Terrell May, Apasai Coruscant, Whenua Bole, Samuela Fainu, Alex Seyfarth and Alex Twal make up the starting forward pack. The bench is Talon De Silva, Royce Hunt, Jack Bird, and that great man, Sione Fainu. The Dragons, they made a few changes. Sione Finau, who I think is a very good winger, has been replaced by one Corey Allen. It's good to see him back in first grade, but nonetheless, a questionable change by one Shane Flanagan. But the big one is that Lachlan Ilias has been replaced by Likan King Tongia. For those of you unfamiliar with LKT's game, that's what I'm going to call him because it's so much easier. He's a reasonably sized body, I think. A good defender. There's been a lot of questions about Lachlan's efficiency in defence for the Dragons, and he was targeted by the Roosters last week. Lycom will probably put that to bed, and he can create tries. I think he's got 12 try involvements from 8 or 9 games in State Cup. So this is a good replacement, and we'll see what happens. But I want to talk about just quickly the tip sheet. These Dragons forwards, these young Dragons forwards, they're high energy. Toby Couchman, he's a workhorse and he goes all day, and he's not necessarily an enforcer, but he's got a quick play the ball and he can chew up meters. Dylan Egan is a West Tigers faithful favourite, and he is a Liam Martin clone, as many people know, but an excellent defender and a guy that can really punch a hole in a defensive line. Hamish Stewart is a very, very good lock forward from Gerringong. He's actually starting, so keep an eye on what Jack de Bellin does when he comes on the field. And obviously Lidsey as well, who is a well-loved former West Tigers player of mine. He is in very, very good form and doing wonderfully in that bench utility role. Keep an eye on the shapes that they play off Luciano as well. That's another one to be mindful of. What are you thinking here, Mac?
Look, I have been really bad at tipping the Tigers this year. I thought that Cronulla would walk through us. I thought we were in terrible form, and we won. I thought we would pace Para, and we lost. I think that there is nowhere on this 1-17 for the Dragons where they have a better player than the Sharks. So how do you tip the Dragons to beat the Tigers?
The Dragons, they're a really, really hard team to read. There are games
where so this game from like tipping,
are we though?
Like flip a coin, bro. I mean, yeah, like the Dolphins. When we beat the Dolphins, I said the Dolphins are a better side than I think that showed, and they've had some great wins since. So we've beat the Dolphins, who are a good team, the Sharks, who are probably going to finish in the top 4. I still think they will. We've beat Newcastle and then lost to Newcastle. No, we beat Newcastle twice, didn't we?
No, we lost to them round 1.
Oh, that's right. We lost to them, yeah. So, fuck, man. How do you tip the Tigers? How do you, you can't tip this shit. All I can say is that I'll be there. I think that the Dragons are there to be beat. I think that, as Randomizer said, Toa gets to play against his son Valentine, which is a nice little matchup. I think that might be a bit of a key matchup there. I worry about the Dragons bench. I think they have a good bench.
I agree wholeheartedly. It is a great bench.
Yeah, I think that they have the potential to cause some damage when Little comes on. When Little, Gula, and DeBellin get on the field, that's a very good bench. I think that it might usually. I worry more about how I mentioned before we've been a bit weak early in the game, but I feel like our starting pack matches up well with theirs. Clamor up against us for the first time is an intriguing match. Um, Got to be careful around the. I think that the key here is shutting down the speed of Cook and Little around the ruck. Shut down the speed of Cook and Little around the ruck, and we probably win.
Well, that starts with making effective tackles and limiting quick play the balls, doesn't it? That's extremely important. I think with the Dragons, I look at their players in terms of their outside backs, and Tyrell Sloan and Corey Allen are guys that I necessarily regard as yardage players. Valentine Holmes and Moses Sully aren't too bad, but Clinton Gutherson's a broken down old fullback when it comes to yardage. I think he's got a wonderful footy IQ, but in terms of that, so in terms of getting downfield, I don't think they're wonderful, but if we give them opportunities through errors and penalties, and we give away a lot of penalties, they play really structured, really structured inside the red zone. But some of the shapes that they pull are really intricate, and that can be hard to scramble against. I think because it's a little bit more identifying gaps on inside or outside shoulder and just executing the right play. It's not as nice to look at. It's a little bit ugly sometimes, and sometimes they take the right options. But if they get it right, they will score points. And with a guy like Clint Gutherson out the back, if we don't get up quick around Flanagan and King Tongia and limit their opportunity to give Gutherson space and dictate terms, they will score tries. They will do that.
I'm just looking through some of the stats from the Roosters game to see if anything stands out here as to how the Roosters might have actually managed to really get on top of them. Like first and foremost, can see that the Roosters didn't really start racking on the points until about 5 minutes before half time. So it seems like the Dragons will probably start strong. They'll probably be in the grind there for quite some time, and we probably need to wear them out through that period of time. Looks like the Roosters really beat them with their outside backs. Tedesco had 230 run meters from 19 runs, Tupu 215 from 20, and Nawanga hey, high five me for saying it correctly, had 191 meters from just 14 carries. So we'll be looking. I didn't watch the game. Look, Sanders Smith had 164 run meters from 10 as well. So I think
I don't know if you saw Sanders Smith had a legacy game. He was phenomenal.
What I'm seeing here, just looking at stats and just reading the tea leaves a little bit, is hang in there, and like just in the just when the sort of the game starts to break down, the Dragons will probably start to get a little bit weak, and they'll start to fall off tackles. And that's when you need the likes of Galvin, Luai, Bula, and the outside backs to be actually ready to strike when those opportunities come. And we might see, a big game from somebody like Jareem Bula. If the boys show up hungry and with an attacking mindset, they should win. It's a little bit like the same tip sheet that I would have given them against Newcastle, right? Like, you remember when we were talking about the Newcastle game in round one, I said we should go out with an attacking mindset, because if we try to get into a conservative battle with them, we might lose. Then we lost 10-8. And then, Benji came out with an attacking mindset in the next game, and, it wasn't polished, but we were able to get the job done. I think I'd give that another crack, roll out there with another, win the battle through the first 20, 25 minutes, go in there, one try up or evens after 25, 30. And then, hopefully by that time they're a bit tight around the middle, and, we can start to exploit them with some shifts. And, I think I would like to see Luai run the ball a lot against the Dragons too. Somebody mentioned earlier in the comments that he's still not playing to his strengths, which is running. I think Luai is playing. He's run the ball a lot more in the last few games, but he's still trying to run around players instead of like being comfortable, taking that taking that run off the rock and actually taking the tackle just to get a quick play of the ball, like, make the first man off the rock, like make a one-on-one tackle around his legs type situation, and then get up and create quick play of the balls that way. I'd like to see him make more of those types of runs. He's not doing it. So yeah, I can certainly see a path to victory that's not too hard to imagine, because it really just plays to our strengths. It's just going to come down to being clinical in attack.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And again, look, I thought I saw enough from Luai playing a little bit straighter and running the footy. It's not right where we want it, but I think it is getting better. Look, this is a really, really interesting one. I don't think either team has a noted kicker of the ball. I think this game will be played between the 20-metre lines. But for the most part, it's just going to depend on, as long as we don't give away errors and penalties and we take most of our opportunities, we should win this. I think our middles are better, and that's where the domination has to start. Terrell and Whenua need to run up a cricket score on their opposites. What do you buy into the Dragons have got an 8-day turnaround compared to our 6 days, and we played for 90 minutes? What's your thinking there?
Yeah, I'm not too fussed. I mean, like, it's a genuine concern. You can look at that and go, the Dragons will look at that and probably assume that that's a weakness in the side. It's going to be up to the guys to recover well and come out and I mean, they're a fit team. Like that's definitely at no point this season, I think, have we gassed out during a game visibly in ways that you would have seen in previous seasons. And I guess, if there was ever going to be a game where that might happen, it would have been the one that we just had, and they still managed to hang in there desperately till the 89th minute. So I'm not worried about it. I think that to your point, it's going to start with middles domination. One thing that I did just see there is the Roosters did not really have a forward-centric game plan. They did not really, focus too much around the ruck, and it worked for them. So I'm not sure. Like, obviously, their strengths and our strengths are very different, but I can certainly see us being able to capitalize in the same ways that they have, because we do have strong players in those positions that can do similar things to the strike weapons that they had that did that. The Dragons, they're about on par with us as a defensive side, a little bit less effective in attack. So I think that from that perspective, probably stands to reason that it should be a close game. As I said before, I think it's just going to come down to the hunger the Tigers have to attack.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting one. I agree with you. I think they need to blow them off the park. I don't think we have as much petrol in the tank as them. And with the state of their bench, and the powerful players they have on it, we're going to have to try and limit their opportunities to put a significant mark on this game. Mate, they were our antithesis last year, the Dragons. They beat us in a pretty shitty affair at Campbelltown, and then they absolutely destroyed us down in Wollongong. I know the teams are a little bit different this year, but is there something to be worried about there, or are these very, very different storylines now?
I mean, I think that they are very different storylines because of us, right? I think our defense is so much better than it was last season at the time the Dragons played us, and we match up so much better with what their obvious strengths are. Moses Sully was the big obvious weapon for them last season. He's going to be marking up with somebody who's been a defensive strength for us this season. So I think that we're more equipped to do a job on the areas of strength that they have. I don't want to get into a grind with the Dragons. They have had some serious close games this season, and they've come out on the right side of a few of them. They haven't won every close game they've been in, but they've come out on the right side of a few of them. We just obviously won a close one, which is great, but it's not that's not the way the Tigers generally win. So I'm right there with you. I think that the Tigers should have an attacking mindset and try to play really optimistically. I don't think that the Dragons are the most uh, especially with a new halfback in the side. And I don't think that they're the most attacking threat side. So it's not like I would be worried about. I'm not saying just throw the ball away, but I'm not going to be super worried about the guys making a mistake here or there in the act of trying to put on a play. Back the defense, play optimistically, and just try to put them to the sword. Don't try to win a grind with this side. That's what they want. They want the Tigers.
I agree. Throw the footy around, back yourselves, play straight, and try and exploit them on those edges, because they do have fragilities around sort of Holmes, and Egan's still young. He doesn't miss tackles, but he still can make a wrong read.
He'll get tired. There's no way. Like that's the problem, and that's how the Roosters obviously put them to the sword, is that they're a team with a lot of inexperienced players. And this week is King Togia debuting? Is this his first game?
No, he's played a handful. He's played a little bit off the bench, and he started here and there.
I thought so, but I mean. They've got some experienced campaigners. Gutho and Holmes are, experienced campaigners, but they're long in the tooth. Damien Cook's long in the tooth. Clemmer's long in the tooth. It's a mixture of guys that are just fresh and some guys that are good, but not not at their peak anymore, and not much else. They haven't got any current top quality talent in the side that are on the come up. They got some young guys that might get there. I rate Toby Couchman. I think he's a great prop. I think he's got potential. Jaden Sewer is clearly their best player. I think Jaden Sewer, you can't be a side whose best player is Jaden Sewer and be a threat in the NRL. Let's be honest. So we've got we got to be winning these games. If we can't beat the Dragons, back to the drawing board. We'll probably then win against another team the week after, and we'll be having this conversation over again. The Tigers are a fucking mystery box this season, so it's just strap yourselves in and enjoy the ride, because who the fuck knows where this thing goes.
I agree with you. It's a game we need to win. I tipped a win last week. It was a very unlikely one. I may as well tip one again. Providing that they do what we've kind of asked them to do, I've got I reckon about a 32-14 scoreline in favour of the Black, White and Gold. You?
It doesn't matter what I think, because I tipped us to get flogged last week and we won, and I tipped them to flog Power the week before and we lost, so it doesn't matter what I think. So from that perspective, I'm just going to tip them to lose and hopefully reverse jinx them. I'm going with the Dragons to rain on our parade 22-20. All
right. Well, I hope you're wrong, but it is a massive, massive danger game. Now let's talk about pathways really quickly. Lisa Faiola went down in their prelim final, unfortunately, against the Central Coast Roosters. Congrats, girls, on a great year, and hopefully they go one or two better next year. But straight into New South Wales Cup. We played slow. There's no speed to anything that this team does. And with a prop forward / lock forward playing at 5'8", it wasn't really a surprise. But Justin sort of pleasantly surprised me a little bit. I thought he did some good things. I know that people have seen the stats, and Mac, I know that you saw as well, that Kid had 10 runs for 68 metres, but he was the only forward that looked really likely. He looked really energetic, and he had a red-hot crack, and we actually played quite well off him. I thought Tristan Hope had some nice touches. He's quickly becoming a favourite, but Eliel Zachem did some good things. I thought Noah was a handful. The great Noah Johansson was a handful at times, but Papalengi did pretty much everything asked of him on his club debut. Other than that, it was a pretty drab affair. It was a pretty modest scoreline against a team that's running second in this competition. But yeah, again, if the speed this side does things, it's just you're not going to score points. And I know it's reserve grade, but yeah, it's just not good enough.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I'm not watching New South Wales Cup. They suck. I'm not watching them. I'm sorry. Until Aaron Payne's no longer the coach, I'm not watching them. It's depressing. I'm sorry, but I'm a self-help wellness freak, Reedy, and I do not put myself through things that I don't enjoy. So I am not watching this crap anymore. What they put out sucks. I will shout out Tristan Hope. He is a well-named player because he plays with a lot of hope. Every week he turns up and he puts in an amazing stint. Their side they've named this week has some changes. Interesting. Mapapalangi's named at fullback. Staines is back. Mason in the halves. Mason and Fall. Look, hope Mason falls. Mapapalangi is a spine. Who knows? Maybe that'll trigger something in them. I agree. Elza Cam's been a nice little addition to the side. I don't know. It's a very uninspiring lot, really. I'm really not bullish on anyone in this team.
Well, we'll leave it at that. Because it gets even worse in Flag. We lost 46-20 and we scored 2 late tries to flatter the scoreboard a little bit. There were some really poor defensive moments. I'm not going to name names. It just wasn't good enough. Somebody asked me a question about Phoenix Godinay earlier. Phoenix got some time at centre in this game, mainly because he's a little bit undersized at the moment. Still needs a growth spurt, but got him some minutes and he nearly had a try, but I think he was held up over the line. Look, this forward pack's undersized. Again, this club just does not recruit fucking big boulders, mountains of men. They just don't do it. I don't get it. But if you want one positive, it's Jared Haywood. He was great at hooker. He's so classy. And he had to go to half because somebody went off. I think it was the right-sided half. I don't remember which one. And he set up a couple of tries. So well done to Jared. And, he's somebody that is obviously earmarked by the club to go on and do some great things. And he'll be on a development deal next year. He's a phenomenal talent. But, wasn't a good enough performance from our Flag boys either. Anything there?
No, I didn't even watch the game, dude. How did the young guys like Duncan and Godinay go?
Phoenix had some good touches. Godinay, I think, was pretty much relatively unsighted, as I said. Just with the lack of size around these boys, I think a few of them struggled. I'm not saying that Archie did, but just some of its parts of the forward pack, they're just struggling a little bit with the lack of size. When you come up against a big side like Cronulla, who typically recruits some pretty sizable forwards, it shows. Disappointing nonetheless, but you know what? Look, a few of these boys are learning. Archie's a classy player, and he'll be fine.
That will do. Tim Johansson has moved to the South Sydney Rabbitohs for all of those who were wondering. He moved during the week last week, had one training session for them and got picked. And he played all right off the bench for 20 minutes, was very solid. So Souths have a lot fewer middles. So who knows? Maybe you see Tim Joe play some first grade.
Got a lot of time for that man, and I hope he's doing well. And wherever he goes, I hope he kills it. Nonetheless, we are done for another day. The sun sets on another West Tigers Faithful episode. 30 podcasts. I'm pretty sure I heard something about if you make it past 20 episodes, you're in the top 1%, so we'll take that. But nonetheless, we need your help. We need you to subscribe on YouTube and hit the bell if you haven't done already. Tell your missus that every Tuesday at 5 p.m. we will be doing this. We review, we preview, and we talk about pathways. You hear names on the forums and on X and, through word of mouth of who these players are. We'll give you a rundown, just ask the questions. We'd like to think that our pathways analysis is pretty good. You're on Spotify, you're on Apple, Google, and the like. Please,
YouTube.
Please subscribe again. We really appreciate it, and we value the input in the comments section every single week. We absolutely love it. We're on X with the handle Tigers Faithful. Please shout us out anytime. It's a mix of semi-serious analysis and a lot of shit talk. I told a Parramatta fan, because he has bacon in his bio the other day, that too much bacon grease has gone to his head and corrupted his mind, because he told me that Terrell May was going to Parramatta along with Lachlan Galvin. So I think you get a fair idea of what the kind of crap we talk on there. Nonetheless, thank you all
X
for your...
X is where Reedy does his shit talking. I tend to focus a bit more on the on the visual platforms, Instagram and TikTok, where you can also find us. So, and also if you do see posts, and if you do like what we do, and if you see them, give them a like, comment. It helps the engagement, helps get it out there. Maybe we'll do more than one podcast a week. Maybe we'll start talking about other games. Who knows? But we need the encouragement, and that's unfortunately in this world the currency of social media engagement.
Indeed, it is. With that, West Tigers Faithful number 30. To everybody going up to Magic Round, enjoy it. Stay safe. Drink far too many beers. End up at Fortitude Valley at 3 a.m. on the Sunday morning.